The previous Pope, John Paul II, was an Ashkenazi counterfeit Jew, as have been many of his predecessors. He visited the Wailing Wall in Jerusalem and asked the Zionist counterfeit Jews to forgive the Vatican. During his trip, which the Pope called a personal spiritual pilgrimage, he visited the major Christian religious sites and conducted masses in Chorazim, Nazareth, and the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. He also visited the Western Wall and inserted a letter in a crack that read, "God of our fathers, you chose Abraham and his descendants to bring your name to the nations. We are deeply saddened by the behavior of those who in the course of history have caused these children of yours to suffer, and asking your forgiveness, we wish to commit ourselves to genuine brotherhood with the people of the covenant. Jerusalem, 26th of March, 2000. Signed, John Paul II."
All part of the deception, because the Ashkenazi counterfeit Jews that he was speaking to are not descended from Abraham.
The Ashkenazi banksters have murdered tens of millions of Christians and gained control of the USA. These people are evil mass murderers and should be treated as such. George H. Scherf Jr., now known as George Herbert Walker Bush, joined and eventually became head of the CIA. He later became president unlawfully because he was born in Germany, not in America. John Fitzgerald Kennedy, also known as JFK, who was a true American patriot and a brave man, found out about their plans for America and world domination, and threatened to disband the CIA and break it into so many pieces that they would never be able to put it back together again. He also found out that the Ashkenazi counterfeit Jewish state in Israel was acquiring nuclear weapons and sought to stop them from having them. However, they've now acquired the capability to strike anywhere in Europe, including Great Britain. He enacted Executive Order 11110, which took away the banksters' power to control America's currency by JFK issuing silverback dollars that were interest-free, debt-free. The silverback dollars would kill the banksters' debt money Federal Reserve notes that they loaned to the American government at interest, in order to get the American people into an ever-increasing downward debt spiral, into bankruptcy and abject poverty. He also wanted to end the Vietnam War, which was making billions of dollars for the banksters' military-industrial oil complex that President Dwight D. Eisenhower warned the American people about in his resignation speech.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States.
Good evening, my fellow Americans. We now stand 10 years past the midpoint of a century that has witnessed 4 major wars among great nations. Until the latest of our world conflicts, the United States had no armaments industry. American makers of plowshares could, with time and as required, make swords as well. But we can no longer risk emergency improvisation of national defense. We have been compelled to create a permanent armaments industry of vast proportions. Added to this, 3.5 million men and women are directly engaged in the defense establishment. Now, this conjunction of an immense military establishment and a large arms industry is new in the American experience. The total influence, economic, political, even spiritual, is felt in every city, every state house, every office of the federal government. We recognize the imperative need for this development, yet we must not fail to comprehend its grave implications. Our toil, resources, and livelihood are all involved. So is the very structure of our societies. In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex. The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist. We must never let the weight of this combination endanger our liberties or democratic processes. We should take nothing for granted. Only an alert and knowledgeable citizenry can compel the proper meshing of the huge industrial and military machinery of defense with our peaceful methods and goals, so that security and liberty may prosper together.
The sleeper must awaken. The sleeper must awaken. That's 4 very compelling reasons why the Ashkenazis wanted JFK dead. This war business policy is outlined well in the film titled Good Will Hunting.
So why do you think I should work for the National Security Agency?
Well, you'd be working on the cutting edge. You'd be exposed to the kind of technology that you wouldn't see anywhere else because we've classified it. Superstring theory, chaos math, advanced algorithms.
Code breaking.
Well, that's one aspect of what we do.
Oh, come on. I mean, that is what you do. You guys handle 80% of the intelligence workload. You're 7 times the size of the CIA.
We don't like to brag about that, Will. But you're exactly right. So the way I see it, the question isn't, why should you work for the NSA? The question is, why shouldn't you?
Why shouldn't I work for the NSA? It's a tough one. But I'll take a shot. Say I'm working at the NSA and somebody puts a code on my desk, something no one else can break. Maybe I take a shot at it, and maybe I break it. And I'm real happy with myself because I did my job well. But maybe that code was the location of some rebel army in North Africa or the Middle East, and once they have that location, they bomb the village where the rebels are hiding. 1,500 people that I never met, never had no problem with, get killed. Now the politicians are saying, oh, send in the Marines to secure the area because they don't give a shit. It won't be their kid over there getting shot, just like it wasn't them when their number got called because they were all pulling a tour in the National Guard. It'll be some kid from Southie over there taking shrapnel in the ass. He comes back to find that the plant he used to work at got exported to the country he just got back from, and the guy who put the shrapnel in his ass got his old job because he'll work for 15 cents a day and no bathroom breaks. Meanwhile, he realizes the only reason he was over there in the first place was so that we could install a government that would sell us oil at a good price. And of course, the oil companies use a little skirmish over there to scare up domestic oil prices. A cute little ancillary benefit for them, but it ain't helping my buddy at $2.50 a gallon. They're taking their sweet time bringing the oil back, of course. Maybe they even took the liberty of hiring an alcoholic skipper who likes to drink martinis and play slalom with the icebergs. It ain't too long till he hits one, spills the oil, and kills all the sea life in the North Atlantic. So now my buddy's out of work. He can't afford to drive, so he's walking to the job interviews, which sucks because the shrapnel in his ass is giving him chronic hemorrhoids, and meanwhile he's starving because every time he tries to get a bite to eat, the only blue plate special they're serving is North Atlantic scrod with Quaker State. So what did I think? I'm holding out for something better. I figure, while I'm at it, why not just shoot my buddy, take his job, give it to his sworn enemy, hike up gas prices, bomb a village, club a baby seal, hit the hash pipe, and join the National Guard. I could be elected president.
The banksters, therefore, like they did to Abraham Lincoln, James A. Garfield, and William McKinley, only this time very publicly, murdered JFK in Dealey Plaza in Dallas, Texas, on November the 22nd, 1963, in a coup d'etat to take over control of America. Many people claim that George Sirf Jr., now known as George Herbert Walker Bush, was in Dallas that day, working for the CIA and banksters. But he has always denied it, even though they claim there is proof that he was there. On the 22nd of November, Bush stated that he was proceeding to Dallas, Texas, would remain in the Sheraton Dallas Hotel, and return to his residence on the 23rd of November, '63, the following day. And here he is, trying to convince everyone that Lee Harvey Oswald killed JFK, while smirking about it and talking about conspiracy theories, like his son did over the inside job 9/11 attacks.
After a deluded gunman assassinated President Kennedy, after a deluded gunman assassinated President Kennedy,
after a deluded gunman assassinated President Kennedy,
our nation turned to Gerald Ford and a select handful of others to make sense of that madness. And the conspiracy theorists can say what they will, but the Warren Commission report will always have the final definitive say on this tragic matter. Why? Because Jerry Ford put his name on it, and Jerry Ford's word was always good.